Hello there. Britain is on the brink of a dangerous double crisis. Instead of a forecast stagnation, the UK economy is headed for recession, and industrial production in particular declined. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, renewed its criticism of the actions of the government of Conservative Prime Minister Liz Truss, whose tax and spending plans are interfering with the BOE's fight against inflation. IMF chief economist Pierre-Olivier Gourinchas said the central bank was trying to tighten monetary policy while the government wanted to boost aggregate demand. The UK is falling into what could be a long-lasting economic crisis faster than previously expected. The country's economic output fell surprisingly back in August. The United Kingdom is moving even faster towards a recession than previously thought. According to economic data released yesterday morning by the British Statistics Office ONS, the country's gross domestic product, the GDP, fell by a surprising 0.3% month on month in August. Experts had only expected stagnation. In addition, the economy in July was unexpectedly weak. The Statistics Office revised the GDP data downwards, and according to this, there was only a month on month growth of 0.1% in July. The statisticians had previously reported growth of 0.2%. In the 3 months to August, British economic output fell by 0.3% according to the information. Long economic crisis threatened if the downward trend in the British economy continued in September and thus on a quarterly basis. Great Britain would be in a technical recession. This is what economists talk about when economic output falls for 2 consecutive quarters. In the second quarter, from April to June, British GDP shrank slightly by 0.1% compared to the previous quarter. The British Central Bank has been expected for some time that the British economy will slide into a recession at the end of the year, which could last for the whole of the coming year. It would be the longest phase of economic weakness on the island since the global financial crisis. Industry particularly weak in August, that really weighed on the British economy. The Bureau of Statistics reported a 1.8% month-on-month decline in industrial production. On average, analysts had only expected a slight drop of 0.1%. And the signs of weakness in the British economy are increasing. Most recently, the sharp rise in energy prices had pushed inflation in the United Kingdom up to around 10%. Such a level was last observed in the early 1980s. Trussonomics put the Bank of England in the trouble, and that's why experts fear that the fiscal policy course of the new government, led by Prime Minister Liz Truss, could exacerbate the kingdom's economic and financial problems. Jim Reid, the UK expert of the Deutsche Bank Bank Research, recently judged that Truss is strengthening the trend towards new borrowing, as was previously the case only during wars. The plans of the new British Chancellor of the Exchequer or Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng for debt-financed tax cuts had recently caused shockwaves on the financial markets. The pound fell to a record low against the dollar, and there was a sell-off on the bond market. The Bank of England, the BOE, had to counteract this with an emergency purchase program for bonds. Originally, the central bank had signaled that it would only be active in the bond market until Friday. However, according to the Financial Times, it's prepared to extend the emergency purchases should market conditions require this, so more than just until today. Great Britain's Prime Minister Liz Truss and her new Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng have triggered a near collapse in the British financial world with their tax cuts plans. The British Central Bank, as I said, intervened, but it's really unclear how long this will last. Will UK pension funds now have more time to avoid a repeat of forced sales? Different signals come from Great Britain on Wednesday. According to a media report, the British Central Bank is ready to extend this emergency purchase program for bonds. And the BOE signaled this to lenders. And the Financial Times reported on this on Wednesday, citing 3 insiders. As such, it would stand by its should the market conditions require this. And earlier, The BOE had signaled that it would only take action until today, as I said. A little later, however, the central bank officially denied an extension of the purchases. As the bank has made clear from the outset, its temporary and targeted government bond purchases will end on October 14th. That is what a spokesman said in an email statement to the press. And this is a confusing situation for market participants, and central banks should actually create trust with clear statements. The national currency pound rose by up to 0.4% against the dollar after the possible extension became known. At the end of September, the pound had fallen to its lowest level in 37 years. And the trigger was the government's tax cut plans. I can't repeat that often enough. And even if the emergency program of the BOE is extended, experts do not believe in a sustainable recovery. Either way, sterling is likely to remain volatile, wrote analysts at the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. There is a risk of a sudden pullback amid uncertainty over sovereign debt sustainability and dislocations in UK pension funds, which have impacted the UK government bond market. To reassure investors, the British Central Bank had only announced the purchase of inflation-linked securities on Tuesday. These are usually held by pension funds. And BOE Governor Andrew Bailey had indicated on Tuesday an end to the temporary purchase program for the weekend, as I said. And the pension funds and other investors would have 3 days to solve their problems when he did this. And so we are here today. We have announced that we want to get out by the end of the week. We think that the rebalancing has to happen, is what the BOE said. And Kwasi Kwarteng recently fueled doubts about the financing of these relief with plans for debt-financed tax cuts. Injections worth billions from the BOE only temporarily calmed the situation. The emergency purchases by the British Central Bank apparently prevented a financial collapse in the British financial world at that time. But after that, the bond market sold off again and again in several waves. And according to the central bank, this created a material threat to financial stability, which it intended to counter with the additional emergency measures. But they all are supposed to end today. For autumn and winter, the BOE expects economic output to slow down sharply in view of the energy crisis. And rising inflation is hitting households hard and is putting further pressure on the central bank to raise key interest rates significantly. And the chief economist at KPMG UK, Yael Selfin, said continued pressure on household finances continued to weigh on growth. The pressure could have led to a technical recession starting in the third quarter of this year, meaning economic output has fallen for 2 consecutive quarters. And that's what we see right now. The Conservative government wants to boost the economy with debt-financed tax cuts. But according to the IMF, however, this will undo the central bank's work against inflation. And now we are here, as I said in the beginning of the video, we do see the recession already. And if a central bank and the government are working against each other, and in this case, I have to side with the central bank because they are doing what their job is, but the government is kind of sabotaging the work of their own central bank. And so I'm really afraid for the livelihood of a lot of people in the UK that are not responsible for this. And Brexit is on top of the whole thing. We will have to talk a lot about those topics in the coming months, I'm afraid, and we will. As you still can hear, this week we'll run on this emergency program still. I hope from next week I will be able to do something on the other channels as well. But realizing that I quite overworked myself, and that's why this deadly man flu could hit me that hard, is I did a little bit too much with daily videos on the many channels and so on. So on most of the other channels, I'll go back where I once was. It's not good for my crisis income, but I have to think about my health as well. So there will be weekly magazines. Every day on another channel there will be another magazine, and I will put my military channel in that row as well. It will be only one video on one vehicle, but it will be in the in the chain of channels during the week, and so you get one video a week on the other channels from next week on. I hope. I still don't feel that good yet, but I hope that I can start on Monday to get a little bit back to normal there. But it will be weekly magazines. On my European channel, for example, will be a magazine with news from different countries from the week before, so you get a good overview, and do the same for the EU, for global, and so on. And of course, I will continue with the dingoes on my military channel. I will bring you new books from the series that on the book channels. It will be 1 week. It will be the short from the BattleTech series that's running, and the next week it will be the next book from the Star Wars series I'm in at the moment. But I have to take it down a bit, even if I do need to earn more money at the moment in this crisis than I do. But it's not very sustainable at the moment to do as much as I did before. You know that I'm still doing my voluntary work, which I didn't do in the last 2 weeks as well, because you don't do voluntary work with Manflu. But I will get back to more normal from next week on. And once again, thanks to everyone. I really don't want to forget this, that are supporting me in this not so nice time with so much of the dropped income in a time when I'm sick, with their PayPal donations. So I really appreciate this, guys. I know that you're all living in a bad time at the moment, and so I'm really appreciate what you did there, and the comments that you write with your PayPal sendings are always fun as well. So thank you, and thank you for your continued support, of course, on Patreon and here as a member on this channel. I always see that. I always appreciate it. I maybe not say it often enough. That's why I do it again right now. But I really appreciate it. And of course, all the viewers that are with me for 3 years now. I recently got a reminder on Facebook when I was partying my 10,000 views I got a little bit more than 3 years ago. I'm waiting to reach the 10 million views on this channel soon, and that is quite a journey, and I'm really glad that you all join me on this journey. And as I said, you won't see anything else today, but you'll see my next video tomorrow. I will be back.